Okay, high time to um, deliver a huge presentation covering the situation comprehensively. So this is going to be the answer to the question, what happened? Today is the 28th of August 2016. My name is Agnieszka Rojek. I was born in Poland, in Krakow, in 1974, and I will tell you my story. Let me start with giving you an idea of the situation I have found myself in. One day, I woke up, and probably it was not the time when I realized what has happened. I had been abused, molested sexually and mentally for a very long time. But on that day, a significant change took place. I went out and there was a huge, intense sexual space around me. What's more, there appeared a connection between my mouth and penises all around. It was impossible to live in. I went to the market square, and at one point when I was in Krzewska Street, I just couldn't stand it anymore. So I went very fast. I walked very fast to St. Mary's Basilica. There I was, I went through the whole church. I saw the picture, the portrait of John Paul II. There was the Holy Mass celebrated at that time, but we just went through, not in the middle, but the left side of the main part of the basilica to the front. I wanted to reach the priest there, to reach priest Adam Boniecki. That is the priest that I remember. I met him a few years ago. We did not talk, but just bumped into him, so to say. And we had this fraction of a moment meeting in the spiritual sense, like ice meeting, and I had a good impression. At the time, I was still having problems with the Roman Catholic Church. And on that day, I thought that he was the only hope for me because he knew what the mass media world was, and I thought that he could understand me. It might have been a misconception because he might have been protected, so it is possible that he would not know what I am talking about if I started talking to him now. However, at that time I believed that if I could only reach him, I would have a chance to no, survive at all. The problem was such that I was not able to walk at all because the center of my life suddenly became my mouth and this overwhelming sexual space squashing me totally out of line. I was not able to walk streets. Sadly, as I reached the door to the priest's place, to the priest's room, I knocked on it. No one answered. And then I met a priest who told me that the priest Adam Boniecki was not there. And we talked for a while, but I couldn't talk. He asked me what happened or something of the kind. I was not able to speak. So he told me to go and sit on a bench there. which I did as I was sitting there looking at the altar, the famous white Stoss altarpiece. I was recovering. And then I had my spiritual space again, and I had a realization about the rape that happened a few years earlier. And I realized that the love I sent on that day found the anchor in Jesus Christ on the cross. I don't know if this is the Redemptionist Church or what church it is, but I think that this is, obviously it is I know the direction of the church because I know where it went from my heart chakra over there. So not actually there, from the direction that I'm sitting here now. But I did not know that at the time. And I had a bit of a scare because I knew that I had been attacked by Satanists. So seeing, realizing that it was Jesus Christ who became the anchor, I felt really relieved. There are more things accompanying the phenomena in the church, like specific pieces of the altarpiece, the woman with a man, which was my love, that obviously connected with my life story that I have been deprived of, my kind of love, my kind of beauty. And it was a hope rising again. There were other anchors, like the roses over the altarpiece, and the emblems on the wall on the left. There was the light coming through the window, like the light in the famous movie about Joan of Arc. It happens to correspond to the light coming through a window that gets mapped onto or into my candlestick from my little round table. There was a phenomenon of actually seeing the little boy there in the church crowd, sleeping on the floor. Funny, when I was relating it for the first time, I spontaneously said on the ground. Perhaps there was some ground ages ago. The boy sleeping there who found his shelter. And it made me think of Mariusz Rakoczy, which is an extremely difficult situation for me because I had been abused by this person, by his accusations. I had suffered a lot already by then. Now it has been even worse. But already then I had suffered a lot. And somehow it seems our lives are interconnected. And the boy made me think of the white shoe, of the yellow shoe. There's a legend about the shoe hidden somewhere there. And what it connected with was my attention going to the sculpture of the king with a harp or other musical instrument, which I learned later on was King David. And as I checked at home the sounds, I opened my Holy Bible, this Holy Bible, at the line that said, I was accused falsely. I cannot find it now. It was before I knew of the existence of Mr. David Samuel, David S. Kahn, the deputy director of the CIA. There was a moment in the church when my attention was drawn to a nun sitting there, and it is connected with another priest who looked pretty much like our president, Andrzej Duda. Maybe it was his brother, maybe he was his emanation. And I did not realize it then, though I had some thoughts of the kind, but it has reached me recently. The nun might have been taking care of the priest's intimate hygiene, so to say, and that she got connected to me, which changes the overall experience of the church. You know me. Obviously, I am a virgin, and a lot of people, including the president of Poland, had been working hard to make me a whore. We do not know the reason why. As I was leaving the church, the first priest came near and he took some holy water. And I knew that, the way I perceived him at the time was very friendly. This experience was as if there was a connection between our hearts in a totally pure sense. And that would be it, more or less. There were other phenomena. This phenomena is key because what happened just before Easter was a night when I was lying in my bed on my own, and suddenly there was a heart stamped onto my heart, which was Rihanna's heart. And what it seemed to develop into, I was doing what I always do in such situations. I am there, present and observing. So this is what I was doing. And sometimes I have some spontaneous reaction. Yesterday, when I was bathing and my friend from St. Hill came up connected to Andy Black's We Don't Have to Dance. And I got this line that he was no longer needed. We didn't need him. We don't need him anymore. I had this spontaneous reaction. What? And what I did then was going at this moment of the ancient language. And I went straight to Rihanna's video clip. The one where she's lifting the world, so to say, or raising the dead from the dead, which was my yesterday's idea. They sent the speed of fast flying object to give him a backup. So this is one of the things that happen sometimes when such things are happening to me. You can call it a spiritual exercise. But on the whole, the experience is really traumatic. What happened on that night when Rihanna's heart was stamped onto mine was the situation developing into a sexual situation between her and someone else, but there were some icons put into that, like the people from the group, the black group, Bonnie Halls, I guess, right? They were to be the icons of the hall. And it felt Diana was to be having sex. So I just turned the other way mentally. But I also drew a curtain to hide her off from the world. But the situation was developing further, and there appeared Maya Rostovska. So at first I thought that it was a peace gesture, but then there appeared Alexandra Tucha. And I realized that there was a space cut out of my heart, which is a pure heart with the heart chakra, the very heart that, gave the love away. It was to go in one direction, as I told you, it was anchored on the Jesus Christ. However, it was a very powerful stream because it was the love accumulated throughout my life. And it was to reach my husband, which is not Jesus Christ, of course, but Jesus Christ might be the intermediary between us, perhaps. And I was shocked to realize what happened at night. My space, my sacred space, my experience, what I had been working for ages, because it is more than this lifetime to have such a space. My heart chakra is active because I had been meditating with colors. So I had developed this ability, which I have had anyway, due to my direct connection to the Buddha community, which is easily proved by my attitude to Tibet. Only a Buddha can have such an attitude to Tibet. I might have been a Lama, not a Dalai Lama, but a Lama, I think. Maybe I had some royal connections too. And not this lifetime, previously. One thing is people using my heart chakra to create space for themselves, which is not their quality but mine. But another thing is then creating a whole space, a disgusting space filled with all the waste, with illness, with dirt, with stain, with death, for me. What is more, by now, since the March situation, I have been raped every single day throughout the day. And apart from that space, I had a rape in the middle of the market square, supermarket, Alma, where suddenly I was hit on the throat with Mariusz Rakoczy's penis. The sexual space connects to a great degree with the woman from the Wavel chocolates commercial. She's sending the message of the joy of oral sex. No one had a right to connect it to me because I have always been clear that I would never ever give oral sex, and I had never given oral sex. I never do. This is my brand. And how can someone put into my intimate space someone else's sexual parts or whatever part? This is just unthinkable. So this was a direct rape, but since then, people have been putting all sorts of penises into my mouth, creating this vibration, probably by merging me with other people, or just by taking part of their life, like a meme, which is a development of a real-life situation, cut off from the real life and from the space, and put elsewhere into another space in a different period of time, activated to create a totally new meme, this time including me, which then develops into a new meme. And so it goes on and on. How do you deactivate all of them? So this is a very serious, unforgivable crime. Right now, I can see that I have become part of video clips. The first one I was aware of was Bitch Better Have My Money, where Rihanna put me into the core image she was creating. I am going to claim damages, of course, in due time. But now, it seems that Lena, with her love, was connected to me. Eva Ferna. The number of people escalates. And there is a new series of my botanical garden direct experience. The pictures I took at the water, which is a very good element to relate to in such a situation because it gives you a reflection. And there are, what do you call it? Bubbles on the water, which were not there, or maybe somewhere there, but it was not what you could see when you were looking. What you have in the picture is a totally different reality. It's totally black. Have you read The Never-Ending Story by Michael Ende? This is the world of fantasy disappearing. This is complete blackness. This is complete annihilation, nullifying all. Just the blackness, devouring all the beauty there is in life, or the life there is. And there are two fish, orange, which probably connects to Rihanna in a way, the very video clip with Sledgehammer. And what you see in the water, however, are the golden, sacred icons. So this is the world I have find myself in finally. I have been fed with dead bodies. Parts of dead bodies have been attached to my body. I had been cut throughout my body. with waters put in because I'm going to my stomach, or like, having this experience of as if someone were giving you anal sex, giving you oral sex, all sorts of things. As if as if my face had become an art, actually. As if there had been a vagina in my stomach. As if there had been the router to my heart filled with dead bodies, apart from being filled with shit, with excrement. And as if there had been the liquid emanating from the dead body, put into my stomach directly, or through my throat. That was the experience. When it started, I was at my mom's, and I have a collection of John Paul II's miracles there, which is, my safety belt. And I have Virgin Mary with the child. And I normally take my book to have John Paul II to help me as well. And this is probably why it was me, not my Arstotzka, who reached for the holy water and got it straight from the St. Mary's Basilica. Perhaps I had been helped with the first priest, because I do consider, I do know there is some positive person, or perhaps it was a totally different priest. However, the bad news is that priests have been taken over too. I did call my priest from the secondary school, Father Gabriel Dawidowski, who had changed his name to Wiesław for totally unclear reasons. He said that I was taken by demons. What an offense. He did not recognize the sacredness in me, which is an insult indeed. I don't exclude the possibility of his having taken action against me, in fact. The intermediary was Zuzanna Paczewska's mother, who told me she had a direct friendship line with Bogdan Klich, the former Minister of Defense. The Minister of Defense when the Smolensk catastrophe took place. And perhaps I would wind up at this as far as the details of the current situation go. This recording is made as a general introduction for the NSA. This belongs to the NSA line. Now let me have some coffee before I continue. After having given you this context, I will go back to the beginning of my life and we'll go through it to see what it has been like, what the hell is going on. So, as I told you, I was born on the 27th of September 1974 in Krakow as a daughter to my mom, Barbara, and my father, Bronisław. Bronisław was much older than my mom, and I grew up as quite a happy child. We had relatively good financial situation. We had a relatively good financial situation. I was taken care of by my grandma, and I had a very, I think, I mean, from what I have heard, I had a very good relationship with my aunt, Anna, my mom's sister. Um, Anna's husband was Tadeusz Lipowicz. Uh, and as far as I remember, I had a very good relationship with him too. Anna was very sociable, so probably it was she who introduced me to the library. You know, she would take me to where she would go. I don't remember it at all, but she must have given me the spirit in a way, apart from me having my own. But perhaps this is where I imbibe a relaxed atmosphere, unless I imbibe something else too. Perhaps she has some scenes concerning taking me there, um, which connect to our misunderstandings and inability to communicate today, because obviously something must have gone wrong in our relationship, which now is not good at all. But then she was, someone really close to me, and I really loved her. And I loved my grandma. My grandma was very strict. She was strict. She was taking care for bringing me up. My mom was strict too, but she was, she was very good for me. I always had her by my side, or she always had me by my side. So, for example, when she was cooking something, I was in my bed, looking at her, watching her cook, or she would talk to me. I was hardly ever alone. And as for my dad, he would take me for walks. I remember when I was in a kindergarten, I remember, for example, um, when we went for a walk and I created a nest for spiders out of the leaves of grass around. I was never afraid of spiders, so I remember I put it out there and I wanted them to live there. I created a home for them. I don't think they liked it a lot, but maybe they appreciated the intention, because years after I learned that Spider was the best architect of the world, and there were actually spiders, and that when spider came into your life, creativity came. Why the best architect of the world? Because his web is perfect. But then some time ago there was a spider, with the cross, um, on at my door, the balcony outside, and it was really scary, especially when I took the picture. It was actually black and white, and when I was editing it, there was blood on the, on the wall, on the ceiling, so to say. But it was the balcony to my neighbor living up there. So this is the picture I got. I got a lot of pictures since, but then when I was a little child, it was very innocent. I just created this home, this nest for the spiders. And another thing is I collected snails, for example. So I had this glass jar with some green and snails there. And I would put cottage cheese there, and it smells terribly. I don't think the snails were happy there, but Um, I would often spend my time at my aunt, Lucia, in Bielanen. I really loved that because she had those farm animals. She had rabbits, she had swine, swine. She had. I think she did have lambs at one point. But yeah, I think I can recall it. I'm not sure if these were her lines or not. Anyway, she had a cat and she had a dog, and she had a garden with flowers, and she had her mom who had the dog Saba. Saba was like a shepherd dog, the white dog, but she was how do you call it? A few breeds together. But she was, she was spending all her life on with the chain. She would not be let out to um, run freely. And I changed it. As a little child, she was bigger than me, but I had the courage that I would just go to her and play with her, talk to her, play with her. And then I asked Chucha, Aunt Lucha's mom, if I could take her for a walk. And initially they maybe were scared. They might have been scared, but then they let me take her for a walk. So there was this big dog and this little me with the dog, but she was really listening to me. So I think she understood that I actually cared for her. This is the place where Maja um, um, lived. Maja, who was the math teacher in the Lishki school. It is through her that I became the teacher there. But we are going to arrive there at one point. This is the first image of Maja. I'm a little child. She's a young woman. She's very nice. And she has the collection of albums, those albums of animals. One devoted to birds, one devoted to fish, one devoted to mammals, like this one. I have only one, and she has a few. And she and she was showing me those animals, and I loved it so much. I remember her room, and on the whole, um, I loved her a lot, but I loved her sister Mariola too. Maja was, at least she seemed to be very calm, and Mariola was more energetic. She was like, like this woman. I don't know. She did this guy actually, who would take me for shopping with her, and there we would meet Arabs. So believe it or not, but in the paradox of paradoxes, it is actually the person from there that developed this initial easiness about different races in me. Because it was normal that the people were there. They were not like black or something. They were just like men. And I don't remember much, but I remember that they were there. Obviously, I don't think that this is connected only with this lifetime, because this is, if you have this attitude immediately, it's probably connected with your previous experience, with your sense of easiness, with your order of the world that is on a lower or deeper level, perhaps. But but um, I want to emphasize that my first contacts with this world were just natural. I don't know if any incidents happened there, if I was, I don't know, waiting for her in front of the shop and something happened or whatever. No recall of that sort. Actually, it is quite curious because it was quite interesting and a bit weird, because I have a feeling as if most of my childhood experience had been erased, like I have no access to it at all. But I have some recollections, some memories. Um, I emphasize it because this is the image of village I had, and I loved it. So we have covered a long way to arrive at where we are now. I still have a dream of going, of having a house in that village, perhaps, or in Alaska, so living close to people. But now I'm scared of so-called simple people. I'm really scared of them, of you know, what can come up in their hearts, and how that can affect me. Um, but at the time it was real love. So you know, this Kochanowski, the Polish Renaissance poet, idea of the idyll of the countryside, idyll of the countryside, simple life close to nature. Um, I spent hours playing with my little plastic animals, creating a farm and developing the whole farm life for them. I could do it on my own. I didn't need anyone, so you know this was my life. I was lucky to be, I mean, to have the rich, that relatively rich, who would buy me all those little plastic things. Um, and I also had the train, you know, the electric train going around, and I collected little cars like you know Matchbox and so on. I did. I even recognized the makes at the time. Right now, it has gone into the past, but at that time I was really good. I could really go into competition with boys in the primary school. I could really compete with boys, you know, but in recognizing the makes in the primary school. Um, I would spend my holidays at the seaside, the Baltic Sea, or in the mountains, Zakopane. I was always very courageous with animals. Oh, there's also a story that I don't remember it, but my aunt, Aunt Lucia told me that one day when we went up into the fields, there was a man and he was beating his horse. And I went to the man and told him not to beat the horse. So I was the little girl and I already had this impulse that I have to do something about it, that I must stop this man, that he cannot beat the horse. So you know, this is the sort of personality that develops into all the other manifestations of protest in place. Um, I have a picture of me slating with my grandma. I don't remember that too well, but I do remember that I did attend slating, skating, not slating, skating. Yeah, like you have an ice rink and you skate. Yes, that's the word. Yeah, I need to review my English vocabulary. Um, and you know the shoes with the knife underneath, a kind of a metal underneath, and I was really good. Actually, I was the best in the group, so I would be called to show how to do something, and it was very good for me. But then I went ill, and when I came back, I was not that good anymore. So I resigned because I was that kind of person. I also attended English lessons, but it wasn't too good because I mean Perhaps it was good. Well, anyway, my teacher did not have too good. The pronunciation of my teacher was not too good, and it was not even as good as mine, which was not very good when I was a teacher either. It was always my weak point. But it was, as I'm saying, it was not Polish, and the teacher's pronunciation was Polish, but from that she did not know how to pronounce words, not only, complex words, but even simple words. And I had the same problem in the primary school, as a matter of fact. What else can I say? I also attended ballet, but I did not do too well there. I think the skating was definitely better for me. And so when I was in the primary school, and Katarina, I remember Katarina Witt was very successful at that time. This is the kind of really beautiful, and this is one of those things that I really regret, because I gave it up, and I should have practiced it, and be really good today. If not for championship, then just for the pleasure of it. And obviously I would have a much better shape. But on the other hand, it's possible that I would have delivered some joints or problems. So perhaps there is the other side of the story too. So this is the little guy that was there. And what else can I tell you? I can tell you another story about a dog, like the Saba dog, the dog that. Okay, so let's move perhaps. When I was 7 and I was to go to the primary school, my mom married Piotr Urbanek, and we left our flat, my childhood flat, and moved to his flat. My stepfather had a son who became my stepbrother. His name was Michał, and he was 2 years older than me. I did not feel comfortable there, I must say it directly. But I think I like that idea of having a brother. I remember that one of the first memories from that time was that I was in the what do you call it? Well, you have sand, you have this enclosure, and you have sand, and children play there, building castles in the sand, or other creating other shapes out of the sand. And I met Renata Korzeniowska there. She was my friend from the primary school. We were in one class, and the first memory is that we actually had a fight, which is quite weird, because I had never had such fights before. So it was as if a new quality had started developing in me. And then her sister went into a fight with my brother. They were the same age, or the same age more or less. Oh, there's another recollection from the kindergarten, when I was at the seaside, which has to do with my singing Nothing Else Matters, to the tune of Pszczółka Maja, the Maja Bee, which is a song from the Polish cartoons for children. It has to do with my sense of self-confidence. I was very confident at that time. I would just go to the stage and start singing, and it was normal that there were all the people that it didn't impress me at all. I just went on the stage and started singing, the most natural thing you can possibly do. So this is why I chose this for the karaoke performance, which was my statement of freedom. I had been heavily abused. I had been raped by Satanists. And I chose this song, Nothing Else Matters, for a few reasons. One of them was the fact that I realized that the rape that was exercised on me was from an nuit en France, en français, or Nothing Else Matters, from the concert in Paris. It was earlier to the rape, but it tells you something about the rapes, something about the means too, because this is a meme. Whatever you create in the physical space in this world becomes part of the reality, and then it can, it can be triggered at any moment to become an experience of another person, which adds to the original meme. So this is a development of the meme, and all the people participate in it. So then it can be taken over by another person. I can tell you that I was crying after this rape. So this was a spasm of unthinkable despair. And then, some time ago, as I was staying at my mom's, suddenly I heard a child crying with exactly the same spasm. So this is a meme. So I thought, oh my God, this child must have been raped. So you should really think, before doing whatever in this world, because all those things you do in the world become memes. It is not only your experience. It is creating the physical reality for us. And from what I have discovered, Assanges are discharging it, right? Or I don't know what they are doing actually. I don't know the technology at all. But I don't think they make it disappear. What I sense is that they tend to take it from one person and give it to another person. So I don't know, is it supposed to be the rule of the what do you call it? The overall mass of energy is the same in the world or something like that. But this is not what Scientology auditing is about. In Scientology auditing, it is supposed to disappear completely. So if whatever else is done to it, it is not Scientology auditing at all. It is a totally different technology. So, one of the reasons why I chose Nothing Else Matters was exactly that, because this was the meme which was used for raping. Imagine the power, imagine the forces I was dealing with in that rape. And then another factor is that this particular song is actually a love anthem. So this is someone took from me what was supposed to be from my beloved husband. They raped me into a double orgasm. Of course, what was meant was my stroke, was my death, or invalidity at least. But I managed to get control of the stroke and stop it from developing into a tragedy. But so this is the love anthem, and then there is this Maya, Be Maya song from the cartoon for children that on one hand triggers the self-confidence, the courage I have done, no inhibitions at all, but on the other, it is, like taking it from the high to the low, which is exactly what you have done to me. And I trusted Metallica would understand it, but didn't, sadly enough. So they exercised some fury on me and my mom. Um, Still, as a child, I was this happy girl who would go to the stage and sing. I must have been relatively good, because if I had been receiving, all the bad vibe from the people who were listening to me, I wouldn't have had this sense of ease and freedom. Um, it changed when I went to the primary school named after Marshal Ivan Konya. And this period is marked by a very nervous home, a home that became a place of danger. Actually, at one point, I really wanted to run away. I went, up the stairs to the corridor that connected different parts of the block, and it was 10 floors tall, 10 floors high. But then my stepfather, I think it was my stepfather, came up to me there and started talking to me, and he convinced me that I should come back home. I did not have, I had a strange relationship with my stepbrother. On the one hand, it was really good to have a stepbrother, but on the other hand, um, it was very bad for me. It was harmful. One of the things was he's playing his music very, very loud. Our parents didn't know it. Our neighbors did know it, because you could hear the music far. When you were on the walking around our block, you could really hear it. He was very good in those electronic things. He did have a talent for it, no doubt about it, because I was really impressed. This is the other side. So, he would just take a little Walkman and, connect all those little things there, so that he would, out of this Walkman have this huge loudspeaker. And the music going, whoa! And he was able to do a lot of things like that. But this was a real torment. Because I could do nothing about it. He was the lord of the house, and we had the music, the loud music. Everybody has to listen to the music, because Michał is listening to the music, of course. And he would also have, it was so funny. He would just come and hold me in his hands, like, do I have something to demonstrate it with? Well, maybe like hold me and electric shock. It was so funny, the electric shock, and I was shaking like in his hands. So, this is the kind of relationship, and we did have some fights sometimes. But on the other hand, I must have liked him, because when I would go to my dad, and my dad would always give me a lot of chocolates in a big, in a big bag. Which was very unique at the time. My brother would get the whole. Maybe I would have some of them, but normally he would take them all and eat them. If I didn't, if I had had a bad relationship with him, I wouldn't have given him the chocolates simply. But and we also had a moment of, when I remember one day that we were talking, and I don't know why, but I slapped him on the face, and he just, it was like his reaction was, it was, I could see that it was emotionally very painful to him, and I went like, my God, I had such pangs of conscience for so long. When I remember it, I felt really terrible about myself, because this is like, I did feel that I did something terrible, that and that it was unthinkable. So, and it happened only once. But then when we had a fight on some other occasion, I beat him on his hand, because I didn't know what to do. He was so big, and I was too small to stand up to him. So the only thing I could do was to, take my jaw and then squish his end with it. Well, there's an anecdote about him having injection at school and the nurse sending him for vaccine against dogs because she asked him about the bite and he did not want to say that it was his sister who bit him. So he said that it was a dog. So she sent him, against what do you call the? I have it at the end of. Well, the disease when you get furious like a dog, you become dangerous because you are an animal. But after some years, I thought that it might be an anecdote he had created to cheat me. I had some trust in him. I remember when I was preparing for, I would always go to discotheques in our church because our church had this, we had nice priests, so they would let us have discotheques. And I was very interested in music then, as I said on some other occasion, and I was preparing compilations of songs for dancing. So, I always had those tapes. And I remember that I wanted to. I remember I consulted my brother, and I must have trusted him because I don't dress this way at all. But he wanted me to look sexy, so you wear no bra. You wear a black shirt. He gave me his black shirt, if I remember correctly. Just with your button unbuttoned. We took some, I think it was a t-shirt with stripes, which was white with, I think, I don't remember the color of stripes. It was either navy blue or black too. And we made it really short and black, not leggings, but my God, I really need to review my vocabulary. Well, the black thing that Kate, that the Duchess Katie makes the fashion. And I must have looked really terrible, but this is not me who is there for, okay? Fortunately, on that particular occasion, we had no agreement to organize a disco. No, we did have an agreement, but we did not have the equipment, so we had no. I did not, make an entrance like that. But I was not wearing makeup, I think. So this is redemptive. So to say, just kidding. Anyway, I did love those discotheques. I loved dancing a lot. I remember I wanted to enroll on a dance course. But my stepfather did not agree. And this also gives you an idea about my stepfather. He had an idea that, once I started dancing, I will get pregnant. So, this is his opinion of me. He thought I was a whore. It had nothing. Oh, well, the bad thing about the house was that the home was that we actually had pornography in it, and this is devastating. I'm a real advocate of a ban on pornography. I think this is very bad, but I haven't solved the problem of how young men are to live with their sexual needs. So this is I would need to talk to a man who is decent, who has those spiritual values, because obviously those are men who are like animals. They're very sexual, so this is a different thing. But if you think of a man who has those spiritual aspirations which normally take you from the level of the beast to a respectable man and a respectable woman who has other priorities, where sex is not that important. And it is very important for such people to have sexual control over themselves, and to be faithful, and well, to be above the pathetic level of the beast. So, but the man need to live somehow, and I would need to consult such a person to know. Well, if you think of priests, I mean, the rule is that they should have no sex, but I don't know how it really works, because I feel cheated right now. So perhaps, the idea of the person um, having the wife is a much better one, much the sacred one, because he actually has a wife with whom he can have sex, instead of I don't know, molesting the nun, who has no choice because she needs to serve, and she's taught that she's serving God. This is sexual harassment. It's forbidden. In the primary school, I was quite popular, but I think I talked about it already. On the whole, I was quite popular. I mean, obviously there was an undercurrent I was not aware of, and that undercurrent exploded when I lost my position. So when I started having real problems, it turned out that the envy accumulated then took a sway. So the people from the past belong to the past now, and I need to find new people. I must say that there is some truth in it, because what I think now is that some might have said, I have always felt she was different. There was something wrong with her. So from the perspective of the people who feel peer, or we are all the same. I have never had this attitude, we are all the same. I had the attitude of each of us has his own talent, and I can do something, it means that you can do it too. Well, maybe this is not fully correct, but I never I never looked down on people, even if it was obvious that I was more intelligent. Even when I had a poor friend, a different color friend or whatever. I mean, the color will never become a barrier for me, because this is my, this is like, I don't know, you put on a yellow skirt, and I have put on, you have put on the yellow skirt, and I have put on the green one. And we can discuss who is higher, the one who has the yellow one on, or the one that has the green one on. Well, I can tell you that the green has to do with royalty, so perhaps I am higher. But then you might discover that in the ancient times, and so on. So this sort of discussion is really pathetic. Obviously, there are some, even in the brain, there are some strengths and weaknesses, because we live in different conditions. So probably our body has to do with that as well, because the adaptation. We must survive somehow in this geographical zone. But then there are so many dimensions of intelligence that even if you want to teach someone to read, then you have different languages, so people can have different genetic memory that goes down in the cells, which makes it easy for them to learn a certain type of language. When it's a totally different story to learn Russian, and to learn Polish or English, or to learn Japanese or Chinese and Arabic. So this is totally different, operations, and it's not so easy then to measure the intelligence actually, because you might think that, oh, this is an objective test. Well, not really, because even geometry, you might have more sensitivity to that kind of geometry or that kind of geometry. By the way, I need to emphasize that as the geometry belongs to me. So now, if you have those creations in pictures, like tables or my pictures, the idea that I had like sets of pictures with, squares, many squares, even squares of different sizes sometimes. Um, or the shocking um, picture where I put the photos of a sphere I took, and it has created a totally multidimensional effect when you look at it. Geometry belongs to me, and I do have this brain that goes beyond not even three-dimensional, but also four-dimensional. And this is a totally different idea of geometry that I have. It could be noticed that it could be spotted easily in the primary school, because in the primary school we, as some extra work, I did those exercises, those tasks where you have one figure and you need to use the equations or the specific mathematical rules to arrive at another figure. And so people think hard, and they calculate, and I could always see the way. It was easy, like funny, because right now when I what I did now is like, you have actually a flying object moving and taking all sorts of space, all sorts of this is I do have, this is what I call the cosmic brain, that breaks the rules of the geometry we have on the planet Earth even, and it's fun. This is like you have anchors in a totally different reality and totally different actuality, because these are things that really are there beyond what we have learned here. But then it was simple, because like a plane, and not even you don't even have the depth, just 2 dimensions. And what else? Well, I did some initial drawing there. So I got a book from my aunt from Canada. My aunt in Canada is an artist. She's a painter. And I do believe, I don't know what is wrong with her painting, apart from her being a Scientologist. So she must be being blocked because of being a Scientologist. Perhaps she is not really fair. I mean, her evaluation of me is very negative. So I know that there's something definitely wrong with her. For me, this is a diagnostic. But then she really has a talent, and she's original. I mean, she must be in connection with some impressionists or with some other artists, but she's really original. So she could develop a whole school of her own painting, and being the predecessor actually, and somehow she's stuck. So I don't know. Perhaps she needs to upgrade her skills. Perhaps there is something missing in the technical side of the painting. But on the whole, the landscapes, and I mean the landscapes especially, because I'm not too excited with abstractions, but the landscapes are really, they really have this. And oh, she has some symbolism. I had noticed. I mean, symbolists, although I'm not sure if these are symbolists. No, I don't remember right now. I don't have the knowledge yet, but like when you put a tiger there or a parrot, so this is a different. This is not impressionism. This is a different. But her combination. This is unique. This is something new, and she's stuck for some reason. So I don't know what is happening there, but it's her dad, my granddad, that had the artistic talent. I don't know, he was dark. And you can say a lot of bad things about him, but why should we? He was an artist. He played music, and he also drew cartoons. So this is what we have. I'm not sure if my grandma had any times of that kind, because my grandma was, she was very elegant. She was in love with Vienna, with Austria. I have a book about the Francis, the Emperor Francis, the Sisi one. Our monarch. So there must be something there. I sense that there is something there that our grandma was not talking about, probably because of the communist regime, just to keep us safe, because people of that breed are normally damaged, destroyed, which I want to change, because I really, and I also had a thought that the Romanis, that like I had this thought that every Jew has a link to royalty. So this is why they feel superior. And then I had this thought, every Romani has a link to royalty. This is a different royalty, but they really do. I don't know if it's true or not, but I had this idea that yes, this is true. They do. And but maybe not. You must check it if you are a historian, because you will be faster there than I am able to arrive there. But then perhaps this is the reason why Hitler wanted to destroy them, just like he took the swastika. It might have to do with the India, actually, because the greatest harm Hitler did was not to Jews. The greatest harm he did was actually to India. So what was his problem with India? You take the swastika, which is the symbol of happiness, and you make it the symbol of mass extermination camps, of the extermination camps. Then how they are to have the swastikas on their temples. So this is like what Cora, Ella Stożek, and people like them did to Agni Politania, where they put the blowjob icon there. This is exactly the level, and this is, when we go to court, this is exactly how we are going to deal with it. We will take swastika, the Hitler swastika. Of course, this is a different level, but this is exactly the damage. Because Agni Politania is totally spiritual, and this is a great prospect, which is to reach people of the planet Earth. No sex involved. This is spiritual. Okay, you want to have sex, have it at home. Don't bother me with it. It's not my life, it's yours. So all those things come to you. And I'm saying this because that my friend in the primary school was a Romani. And she's like, she's the member of this freedom. She was this great girl who would understand me so well when we took the baby dog for a walk, and we let her run free, and she was and my dog was like that too, Dingo. By the way, I saw my Dingo in the dogs at the White House recently. Was it the White House picture or some other picture? Were you auditing my Dingo too? Anyway, so this is exactly the kind of context I have for those relationships, and let's have some light. And oh, I think you have changed something again. Don't make me Romani now. And this is like you have that love for that variety and you are growing up with it, but you don't even know, you never call it a variety, you just live with it because it's there. And I never had any sense of superiority, but you know, once when you saying that, now, when you have spent all your life on taking care of you, and I have spent all my life taking care of others, for me that we are the same, then I must tell you, excuse me, we are not. Or if you were playing truant and I was learning, well, excuse me, we are not equal. We are not the same. And there are many other reasons for which we are not the same. And even if you say that, well, so what? You are intelligent and I'm not, so what? Exactly that. This is like, I will tell my mom, well, what does it matter that you just go to the kitchen, take some things out and prepare a wonderful dinner, like out of nothing. And I would have like, and you do it like that. And you will have, everything and it's perfect. No, we are the same. Absolutely. No, we are not. Exactly, that's my point. We are not equal. And of course, people have different sets of priorities. But then generally, if I took all those risks, you have no right to come up with your idiotic claims and bother me with them, or bother me in any other way. At which point I will stop to take a break